folks. Welcome again to an hour with Bob, and I had to do it. I had to bring him back. We had such a good time last show. I didn't have enough time to get to all the stuff we wanted to talk about, and it was so informative, so much fun. And people asked, they said, you got to get SCOTT CORDISCHI back. So guess what? SCOTT CORDISCHI's back. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Bob. Thanks for having me back. I'm happy to be here.
Nice to see you.
It's a good time to be back. We've got a lot to talk about with the Super Bowl coming up.
Super Bowl, yeah, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And to think about it, KC's in the third year in a row.
Yep.
They're vying for the Super Bowl championship, which would be something that Patriots didn't even do.
That's correct. No team's ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. So.
And he's been in the playoffs 5 out of 6 years, right?
Who? Mahomes?
Mahomes.
So Mahomes, 7 years as a starter, 7 AFC championship games, and now this is his 5th Super Bowl he's in.
That's crazy.
That's pretty good. You know, and I'm sure we'll get into this over the course of the next hour, but there's a lot of comparisons to be made between the Chiefs and the Patriots dynasty, right? Yeah. So, and to me, the intriguing part is, okay, it's Brady versus Mahomes, who's the greatest of all time. It's Belichick versus Andy Reid, who's the greatest of all time.
There you go.
It's Travis Kelce against Rob Gronkowski, who's the greatest tight end of all time. So a lot of interesting debates that are spawned by this new Chiefs dynasty.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And they get the real benefit of a young lady, Taylor Swift.
Well, of course. You know, people can say what they want, but the NFL loves the fact.
Oh, absolutely.
That the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl because of Taylor Swift, right? Because she brings, not that the Super Bowl doesn't get gigantic ratings every year, it does, but she brings even more eyeballs to the game,
She brings young girls into the game that are watching the game with their dads.
Yeah, the Swifties. That's what they call them, right?
Yeah.
The Swifties. So that does not hurt, that's for sure. And I know a lot of people think that the NFL, the officials, they've got it rigged for Kansas City because they want Taylor Swift, you know, at the Super Bowl, all this. Look, that might be true. I can tell you this, they do get a lot of calls.
Oh, my God.
I mean, how about in that AFC Championship game? That was the first down that the Buffalo Bills had, in my opinion.
And I feel so bad for
the Buffalo Bills,
Buffalo
Josh
Bills,
Allen?
Josh Allen. I feel so bad.
So
he
do
tries.
I.
Nobody tries harder than him.
You know who they remind me of? They're the pre-2004 Boston Red Sox. Now, you know what I mean? They're just cursed. They just can't win the big one. You know, I mean, they lost 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s.
Right.
They've had this real talented team the last 5-6 years. They can't get over the hump. They can't even get to the Super Bowl, much less win one.
Right.
I feel bad for the Bills. I see a lot of the pre-2004 Red Sox in them, and that's why I root for them. I've got kind of a soft spot in my heart. I also went to a lot of Bills games when I was in college at Syracuse. There's only a couple hours, west of Syracuse. So I went to a lot of Bills games and kind of learned to appreciate their
And they're great fans.
Oh, it's such a blue-collar town. I mean, let's be honest. You been to Buffalo?
Oh yeah, many times.
There's not a lot going on in Buffalo.
No,
okay?
no.
Not a place I'd want to call home if I'm being honest.
In the dead of winter, especially.
Yeah. So all they've got is their Buffalo Bills, to be honest with you.
And you know what's amazing? They're building that $3 billion stadium, and it's going to be open air.
I know. Well, I guess
semi-open air.
Yeah, right. So like a lot of the stands are going to be covered.
70% are going to be covered.
Yeah, which is good because, they get those snowstorms, and then they get all the fans of Buffalo. Can you come on and help us shovel out?
Right, shovel up. Yeah, give it $25 an hour to shovel the.
That's right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Even in the old stadium, that's heated. The field's heated.
Yeah, I think they put like heating coils under the turf.
They got pipes underneath the dirt.
Yep.
So it doesn't get a lot of snow on.
You ever been to a Super Bowl, Bob?
No.
You never been to one?
No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I was in a Super Bowl game in Miami, the old Orange.
The old Orange Bowl.
Orange Bowl.
How about that?
So
I've been to many of them. Back when the Patriots particularly were on their first run, I went to a lot of different Super Bowls. This year's Super Bowl is back in New Orleans for the first time in a long time.
I would love to go there. I
love
New Orleans.
It's the best city to host a Super Bowl.
Well, by the way, have you ever been to Mardi Gras?
I have not been to Mardi Gras.
No, I got you there.
No?
I've been there a couple of times.
Okay.
I love New Orleans.
Oh, it's great.
That is the wildest city.
You don't need a rental car, right? Because you can walk the whole city.
You can walk around.
Right.
You
so
just can't walk too far. You can't walk up past Dufresne
Yeah,
Street.
no, right. But you can walk to Bourbon Street. You
Yep.
can go to the casinos on the river.
You can walk Canal Street. You go up Canal.
Yeah.
By Jefferson, the monuments there it's pretty cool. And then you got a casino right there.
Yeah, I mean that city was built to host a big
party.
party.
Absolutely. What's the 7th time?
So something like that. Yeah,
think it's
they're
the
one of the
7th
lead cities to host a Super Bowl. But I've seen a Super Bowl. I've seen multiple Super Bowls in New Orleans. I went to Super Bowl 31 and 36 that the Patriots played in both in New Orleans.
Wow.
Super Bowl 31 when Parcells coached and they had Bledsoe, they lost to the Packers.
Right.
Super Bowl 36, of course, was their first Super Bowl win when they beat the Rams. But I've been there. I've been to Super Bowls in Tampa, in Jacksonville, Houston. To me, New Orleans is the best place.
Really?
Yeah, it's the best place. Like I said, the city was built to host a big party.
Oh, that's a great. It really is a great place.
Yeah.
And again, the Mardi Gras is the thing to see. If you've never
Pat
been-
O'Brien's. You had a hurricane at Pat O'Brien's.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to you know who had a place down there at the time was, and I knew him because I had interviewed him, guy from Fall River, the chef from Fall River there. Help me out.
Oh, Admiral Lagasse.
Admiral Lagasse.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a place down there in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Good food down there too.
Yeah.
Breakfast beignets. You ever had a breakfast beignet?
I don't think so.
It's almost like an Iggy's Doughboy, but for breakfast.
Right.
It's the best breakfast food I've ever had.
I've had a lot of
Not good for
seafood
you,
down there. A lot of those little crawfish.
Crawfish. Yeah, crawfish. Yeah.
Had a lot of them.
Yeah.
And their stuff is hot. I mean, my stomach gets mad at me.
I like spicy food.
I do, but my stomach gets mad at me after.
Okay.
I had just the other day, speaking of food, just the other day, a friend of mine's wife gave me some chili. I loved it going down, but it killed me. It killed me. I was chewing Tums for hours after.
Bob, I'm going to turn the interview on you. Who do you like in the Super Bowl? You like the Chiefs or the Eagles?
Well, I'd like to see the Eagles win because I don't want to see, because I think, first of all, I've grown to believe that the striped guys are on the side of Kansas City.
You think?
I've grown to believe that
Okay.
because of Taylor Swift. I believe that the NFL would like to see them win it again because all the young girls that wouldn't be watching the Super Bowl if they had got eliminated by Buffalo.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be watching the Super Bowl with their dads. So there's going to be a lot more people watching it and watching those commercials that cost $7 million for 30 seconds.
Oh, crazy.
And by the way, when they say $7 million, that's only the airtime.
I
That
know.
doesn't include the production time.
I know.
And the actors that they got to
know.
pay, and the set and all that stuff. That doesn't include any of that.
But you're rooting for Philly.
Although Patrick Mahomes is amazing, absolutely amazing. But the other thing that I point to, you must have seen it on the internet, on Facebook, where they show the difference between the Patrick Mahomes era and the Brady era. They show a shot where Brady's nailed and crushed.
Oh, yeah, getting killed, yeah. And now you breathe
can't
on
even
Patrick
touch
Mahomes.
him. You
No.
can't even touch him. It's awful.
I know.
He has such an edge. It's crazy.
I know.
It is crazy. Oh, that play in was it the Houston game where two defenders hit each other. He's underneath the pile. He just about got touched, and it would have been a fourth down.
Yeah.
And they would have had to kick the ball to Houston, and Houston at the time, I don't know if they were tied or Houston was ahead, one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think Houston was ahead by 2 points or 3 points. And they would have had to kick the ball or fourth down, but it was like 4th and 7.
Yeah.
He ended up with a first down, and they ended up scoring.
Right.
And that has happened so many times during the year, as you pointed out off camera, and every game this year of the 17 games, I don't think there was a game that didn't go down to the wire, was there?
No.
They were all by 3 points or less.
So I think, if my math's correct, I think the Chiefs won 15 games by 1 score or less this year.
Crazy.
Which to me, that's a credit to like a guy like Mahomes and a guy like Andy Reid.
Right.
When they need that big third down conversion, when they need that red zone conversion, they get it. And that's why I'm going back and forth as to who I think's going to win. I actually think Philadelphia has a more talented all-around
Absolutely.
team. I think they get better players.
If they
on
can't
opposite-
stop the running game of Philadelphia, they're going to
Barkley,
lose.
yeah. So I think Philly's got the better team, but boy, it's hard to pick against Mahomes and Andy Reid. It is, just because they find a way to win. They remind me so much of Belichick and Brady.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. I look at the game against back to Buffalo because I like Josh Allen, and I think the poor guy just can't get. He gets it done. He's a great offensive player, but his defense stinks. They let things. They go down the field. They run off 9 minutes and get a touchdown. the ball goes back to Patrick Mahomes, 3 plays, he gets a touchdown.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say this. So you're rooting for the Eagles. I think most Patriot fans are rooting for the Eagles. I really do.
Yeah, because they don't want to beat Brady's legacy.
That's right. They feel like it's a threat to the Patriots dynasty. I look at it differently. I don't think it's a threat to the Patriots dynasty if they win 3 in a row and 4 in 5 years, and I'll tell you why. I mean, we're old enough to remember the old steel curtain, right?
Absolutely.
When they won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s, right?
And
We're
Dallas years earlier.
Okay, yeah, and how about the 49ers of the 80s, right? They won 4 Super Bowls. And the
and
Cowboys won
Green
3
Bay?
in the 90s.
Who?
Right? The Cowboys won 3 in the 90s.
Right.
Do we think any less of those dynasties today because the Patriots won 6 in 20 years? I don't.
No.
So I don't think whatever Kansas City does, to me, isn't going to be a threat to the Patriots' 20-year run of dominance where they won 6 Super Bowls.
Right.
You know, so that's number one. Number two, I was born and raised in Massachusetts, okay? I'm a lifelong, diehard Boston sports fan.
Sure.
And because I'm a diehard Boston sports fan, I can't stand New York or Philly. I hate their teams. I hate their fans.
I agree with you there. I agree with you
I mean,
there.
so look, I can't root for the Eagles. I don't like Philly. Their fans are obnoxious.
You might have changed
All right?
me. You might have changed
So
me
I'm
already.
rooting for the Chiefs. I root for greatness. And I hate Boston, and I hate, New York and Philadelphia because I'm a Boston fan.
Right, right. No, I agree with that. And normally, by the way, I was a Kansas City fan long before I was a Patriots fan.
Were you really?
Oh, yeah.
Back in the days of Len Dawson?
Taylor, Lenny Dawson, Otis Taylor. I go back to, there was one play, Otis Taylor, Lenny Dawson, Otis Taylor lines up. He's the wide receiver for Kansas City back in the day. It was second down and 9 on the second down and 10 on the 1 yard line. Otis Taylor goes flying down the sidelines, and Lenny Dawson back in the end zone, and they held them off. They held the defense off, and he throws a bomb, and he catches him at about the 45-yard line, and Otis Taylor runs it all the way for a touchdown and wins the game.
99 yards.
99 yards. Look it up. That was that play sticks in my mind. Otis Taylor, and they also had a guy, number 17. I think his name was Wright. Played for that team.
Yeah.
Who was great.
So I remember Len Dawson. Now, I'm a little bit younger than you. So I remember Len Dawson and Nick Bonacani used to host HBO's Inside the NFL years ago, the original show. But there's a picture of Len Dawson. When I think of Len Dawson, this sticks out in my mind, and I find it hysterical because today's pro athletes, like it's 365 days a year, right? They're working out. If they're not in season, they're in the weight room, they're eating right, they're training. And then there's a picture of Len Dawson playing for the Chiefs in the locker room, smoking a cigarette at halftime during the game. You don't see that anymore, do you?
Well, they had Lenny Lanier played on that team too.
Oh, yeah?
Lanier, yeah. Middle linebacker, was a great player at the time. And they also had the very first 300-pound player. It was not Refrigerator Perry. It was not the first player. It was a player for Kansas City. It was 300. I remember it distinctly.
What position? Was he defensive line, offensive line? Defensive line?
Defensive. No. Defensive end.
Yeah.
He was 6'7", 306 pounds or
Wow.
something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember his name, but I
Because
remember.
back then, if you're a young fan, and you just started following football, after the turn of the century, you have no idea. Offensive linemen back in the 70s.
250.
250.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, they had side jobs during the offseason because they didn't make a ton of money.
Exactly.
So, they did stuff. They had jobs during the offseason. Now, like I said, it's a 365-day-a-year thing. When they're not in season, they're in the weight room, they're training, and all that other stuff. So,
what's amazing to me is, like you said, the weight. Some of these guys are 350.
Oh. And they can
run. I was going to say that.
And they can run.
Do a 4.6 or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why I think, we talk about the concussion thing and how that affects the sport of football. Today's athletes are bigger, stronger, and faster, so the collisions are more violent.
Sure.
Right? You can make the best helmet in the world. Sometimes it's not going to matter because these guys are just coming at such a high rate of speed, and they're so big and they're so strong, the collisions are just more violent.
But they've kind of neutralized the collisions. Remember back in the day when who was the most feared team back in the 90s? Oakland.
Oh, the Raiders, yeah.
They were killing people.
Yeah,
If they hit you, Tatum and Atkinson.
Jack Tatum, when he paralyzed Darryl Stingley.
Darryl Stingley did.
Yeah.
Tripled Darryl Stingley from the Patriots.
Yep.
They would hit people on purpose. They would hit them high and low. One would hit them high, the other one would hit them low. And it was like don't come in my area.
Yeah, the NFL's done a good job with kind of changing the rules to eliminate those cheap hits or the shots to the head.
Right.
You know what I mean? They've done a good job legislating that, like you said, and kind of reducing the risk of concussion or serious injury.
But now, all you can hit them is from the waist to the chest.
That's pretty much it.
You can't hit them in the legs.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you could take them out at the legs. You can like a defensive back. If you got Rob Gronkowski bearing down and you're a 5'10", 185-pound defensive back, yeah, you could take him out at the legs. Yeah.
Right.
Can't hit the quarterback at the knees.
No,
that'll
God, no.
get you a flag.
And that was probably because of Brady, because
Yeah.
he spent out because his only time he was injured, right?
Bernard Pollard, I'll never forget that name. Yeah, Kansas City Chief, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
He tore his ACL.
That was early in the game.
First game of the year.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
First half of the first game of the year. And they won 11 games that year with Matt Castle, a guy that never played a game in college. He was on the bench at USC.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was a backup quarterback at Southern Cal.
He never played?
Never started a game in college, ever.
Wow.
But the Patriots drafted him anyway, like I think in the 7th round, and they won 11 games, and they didn't make the playoffs that year. They lost in a tiebreaker to Miami for the division title. But yeah, they won 11 games with Matt Castle at quarterback.
Well, that's a testament to the man, the coach.
Belichick, yeah, I agree.
Right. What do you think?
All right, let's go over the debate. Belichick or Andy Reid, who's the better coach?
Oh, God, that's a tough one. Although Andy Reid didn't do too well when he was with Philadelphia, right?
He did okay. I mean, he went to a lot of NFC title games, won Super Bowl, and Belichick and the Patriots beat him in Super Bowl 39 down in Jacksonville. But to be honest with you,
Didn't he have a brother in
Andy Reid?
Andy Reid?
I don't know.
I thought he had a brother that coached.
I don't know.
Coached with him.
I'll tell you this. The reason I might give him the slight edge over Belichick, and I think Belichick's great. Now, I guess I'll give
He's
Belichick.
better with his players.
Belichick's won 6 Super Bowls as a head coach and 2 as a defensive coordinator for the Giants. So he's got 8 rings. So maybe Reid's got to get a couple more rings. But he's closing in on the wins.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Like in 3 more years, he could pass Belichick in the win total.
Right.
But here's where I give him credit. Reid's won at a pretty high level with different quarterbacks. Like Belichick's only won at a high level with Brady.
Right.
Reid won with Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia,
Right.
and then he won with Alex Smith in Kansas City.
I know,
mean,
with his bad legs.
Come on, I mean Alex Smith. So
Who was replaced by
Patrick
Mahomes.
yeah.
Yep.
Now, the next argument: Mahomes or Brady? Who's the greatest?
2 different style of quarterback.
Yes, they are.
One's a running quarterback, and he's amazing. And you know what makes him kind of extra special when he throws the sidearm and everything?
Yeah.
Because his father was a second baseman.
Pitcher, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Second baseman, yeah. And getting thrown across the body, stuff like that. That's where he went. And I'm sure that's where he got the. Plus, he played second base too.
So he's a great improviser, like and more athletic than Brady ever was, right?
Oh, absolutely. Brady couldn't get out of his own way.
Here's what I would
I
say.
could outrun Brady with my bad knee.
To me, Brady's won 7 Super Bowls. And the 2 times he met Mahomes in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl when he was with the Buccaneers, and in the AFC Championship game in Kansas City, he beat Patrick Mahomes. So he's 2-0 in the playoffs against Mahomes. Until Mahomes gets up around 5-6 Super Bowls, Brady to me is the greatest of all time.
Yeah. But if he gets there.
If he gets there, right. Here's what I would say, though. If Mahomes wins on Sunday, that's going to be 4 Super Bowls for him.
In 5 years, 6 years.
In 7 years.
7 years.
Okay? So, to me, the first half of his career will be better than the first half of Brady's.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So if he continues and he plays for 20 years like Brady did and he wins more Super Bowls, you might in the end say Mahomes is better than Brady. He's the greatest of all time. Right now I say Brady because Brady gets 7 Super Bowl rings. Mahomes has 3. So, all right, then now you got the final argument, Gronkowski or Kelsey. Who's the better tight end?
I love Gronkowski.
So do I.
Especially after the catch. I mean, he was phenomenal dragging people, catching. He was just too much. Kelsey I like, but he's not.
To me, Kelsey's a receiver in a tight end's body. Gronk was an all-around tight end. He was a great run blocker, too.
Oh, exactly.
So to me, if you're talking about the complete package at the tight end position, can you run, block, and can you catch passes, I'll give Gronk the edge.
And that goes all the way back when the guy there, what's his name? Hernandez was around.
Aaron Hernandez.
When they had them both.
See, Hernandez is more like Kelsey, more of a receiver.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And but not as much of a blocker as
As
Gronkowski.
Yeah, no doubt.
But he amazed me. You see some of the videos, some of the reels, some of the catches he's had, and then after the catch, he's dragging people.
Oh.
There was one, he was 20 yards from the end zone. He's dragging, two guys are hanging all over him, and he's dragging them into the end zone.
There was one game, I remember they were in Indianapolis against the Colts, and I forget who the defensive back was, but he just threw him out of his way like a rag doll.
Right.
And I think he was asked after the game, he said, I threw him out the club. So that was his line. But yeah, Gronk was just kind of a different breed.
All right, what else? Who else you got on Kansas City? The wide receivers. Who do you got?
You know,
they picked up Hopkins, right?
So DeAndre Hopkins, yeah.
But he hasn't really done a lot for them.
They got Juju Smith-Schuster, who did nothing with the Patriots.
Right. Yeah, which is weird, huh?
Yeah.
It's just some teams. Well, look at the running back for Philadelphia when he was with the Giants.
Saquon Barkley, yeah.
Just the dynamics, and maybe he didn't get along with the coach, or something was there.
Well, he's running behind a better offensive line in Philadelphia
than
he had with the Giants, that's for sure.
Well, you know, I have a lot of respect for him. How about the last game there when he...
when he didn't go for the record?
Didn't go for the record.
He said it's more important to be healthy.
Was it 3 yards?
Yeah.
3 yards to the record?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was close, but he said, you know, it's more...
It was Dickerson's record, right?
Yeah, Eric Dickerson. Now, Eric Dickerson did it in, 14, 15 games?
Right.
You know, this is 17 games. So.
Exactly. That means nothing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean, to me, he didn't break the record, if he broke the record.
Right.
Because 3 more games. Come on. 100 yards in each game. That's 300 yards.
Yeah. But like Barkley is a good example, like why I think Philadelphia has a better all-around team than Kansas City. Like they don't have a running game, the Chiefs, like the Eagles have, right? But they do have
a pretty good running game.
Yeah, it's decent. Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's decent, but
I like that kid there. What the hell's his name? Begins with a P.
Oh, Pacheco.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco, and then they got what's his name? Kareem Hunt. They brought back.
Right.
You know
he's good too.
So, yeah, I think Philadelphia defensively, like the kid Jalen Carter, man, he was a beast when he was at Georgia, defensive tackle. He's just a disruptor up front.
Right.
So. Kansas City offensive line is going to have to deal with him. I'll tell you, on the other side, you look at the job that I'm drawing a blank.
95, number 96.
No, the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs.
It begins with a C.
An
S.
Yeah, why am I drawing a blank? But, he shut down the Patriots when he was defensive coordinator for the Giants. When he was with the Giants, he shut down the Patriots twice.
Right.
Remember, the 07 perfect season, his defense shut Tom Brady and the Patriots down. What they score? 14 points in that game?
Right.
Yeah. So, I just think that, he'll come up with a good game plan.
Well, there was one record there about him too.
Spaziano,
something like that.
Yeah. Why don't I?
He is 8-0 against Philadelphia, or some ridiculous statistic like that, as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think I read that somewhere. He's 8-0.
Yeah. So I like him a lot. I don't think they have the talent on defense that the Eagles have on defense.
Right.
But boy, I love the coaching. I love Andy Reid and I love him.
They take chances too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I do not like, and I wish the NFL would outlaw it, that push thing.
Push?
I don't like that at all.
I bet you they will review that this offseason. They did last season and they didn't do anything about it. I think they might change that this year. Although, give Philadelphia credit, nobody runs it better than that.
No,
like
exactly.
You saw Buffalo. But you know
they
what?
got shafted in that.
No, they did. They got the first down. But here's what
that was a bad call.
Here's where Buffalo makes a mistake. Where
Right.
Philly doesn't. Philly gets Hurts right behind center, and when the ball's snapped, he just goes right forward. Allen takes a snap, takes a step backward, a step to his left, and then goes forward. You give the defense time to close in on that.
Exactly, time to react.
That's where Buffalo does not do the tush push nearly as well.
And they shouldn't have done it again.
Yeah.
After they failed the first time, they shouldn't have came back. Although he did cross the line.
Right.
In my opinion, he scored the touchdown.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if the league does do something about the tush push.
I don't like that at all. I think it takes something away from the game.
I do too. I mean, what was it, the championship game when they did it like 4 or 5 times? And Washington kept jumping offside, and the ref finally said, we can call a touchdown if you keep doing this. You know?
Well, the defense is at such a disadvantage.
Of course.
And then they put there, like we talk about 300-pounders, they put their 350-pounders on the line to do that.
Right.
They're not even the regular line that does that. You know, they take away some of their offensive tackles and guards, and they put these giants in there to do the push or get behind the quarterback and push, get behind Hurts and push him.
Right.
Now the other thing about this game that is a concern, getting hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts he was dinged up at the end of the season. Wasn't 100% when the playoff starts. I don't know what percentage he's playing at right now. Is he 80%, 90%? Is he 100%? I don't know. But if I'm defending the Eagles, I'm going to do everything I can to say, you know what? I'm not letting Saquon Barkley beat me.
Right.
So I'm going to overcommit to the run. And if you're going to beat me, it's going to be on the arm of Jalen Hurts.
That's right.
That's just the same way.
Which he's not really consistent.
Yeah.
His passing is not.
And it's the same way with Lamar Jackson. Like Lamar Jackson, for as tremendous of a quarterback as he is, if I'm playing against him, I'm keeping him in the pocket.
Shut his run down.
You're not beating me with the legs.
That's right.
You're beating me with your arm. If you beat me with the arm, so be it. And that's what I would do if I were Kansas City.
But by the way, they had Jackson, he leads the league as a quarterback in runs.
Yep.
And on top of that, you had Henry, and they still got beat in the playoffs.
I know. Look, until Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl, that's going to be something that's always going to be hanging over his head. You know, he's got all these regular season MVP awards. Who cares? How many championships?
Right.
You know, come playoff time.
Have they gotten to the Super Bowl?
No.
Not even gotten there?
No. Not with Lamar Jackson, they haven't.
No, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I know they did years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Wow. But you're right. There are winners and there are losers. It's like years ago when Minnesota couldn't win the big one.
Yeah, Fran Tarkenton.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Buffalo, four times in a row.
Look at Dan Marino for as great a career as he had.
Right.
Okay? He went to one Super Bowl and lost it. Never got back to another one.
By the way, I
kind of feel like Josh Allen's kind of heading down that path.
Exactly.
Right now, you know?
Although he's only 27, right?
He's young, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm worried about him getting hurt. As big as he is, he
still
does
plays,
things
though, he does.
He should not do.
He puts himself in harm's way a little bit too much. Like you see the plane, like ooh, and then he gets
when
up
he
and
should
goes back
slide. He goes for that extra yard.
Yep.
You know, it's nice to see his enthusiasm. You know, and how good he tries, how hard he tries. But as hard as he tries, it bothers me that his defense sucks.
Well, and you're right about that. The one thing I will say too, you know, when you look at Josh Allen, I think we've got a quarterback here in New England, this kid Drake May. I think he's very similar to Josh Allen.
Right.
He's very athletic. He can run.
And
with
he
it.
also doesn't slide.
Well, no, and he had one concussion this year.
Right.
And I thought he got another one late in the season, but he came back in the game. He's got to learn to slide because we don't want what happened to Tua Tagovailoa to happen to him.
That's sad too.
Yeah.
That kid was great.
Yeah.
I watched him in college. That kid was great.
So I'm excited. I like Drake May. I'm happy we got Mike Vrabel now.
That was a good pick.
You know, we got Mike Vrabel.
Although I like the second pick better.
Well, you pick
that was
third.
my pick. I
Jaden
watched
Daniels.
college football.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels.
LSU. I like college football.
He's been terrific. I mean, it's hard not to say that, you know, he wasn't the best pick in that draft, but I would say Drake May was second. I mean, in all due respect to Caleb Williams, who went number 1 to the Bears.
Caleb Williams, he won the Heisman as a junior.
Yep.
And do you know his stats were better as a senior?
Were they?
Yes.
Yeah.
His stats were better. He had more yards, more touchdowns, less interceptions, and he didn't win the Heisman the second time, which is hard to do.
USC didn't have as good a year though, record-wise, when he was a senior.
Right.
As he did
and now he ends up with Chicago.
Yeah.
And
now he's got an offensive-minded coach, right? Because he got the offensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions,
Ben
Johnson,
who I was hoping the Patriots.
Yeah. So now that Ben Johnson's in Chicago, we'll see how that benefits a guy like Caleb Williams.
Right. But you think they'll make him stay in the pocket more?
I don't know. Good question. I mean, I would like to think Ben Johnson's going to say, okay, here's your strengths, and I'm going to design my offense to your strengths. If that's running it, if that's throwing it, you know. But he does a lot of funky stuff. You saw with Detroit, all those little trick plays and reverses and, you know, all that other stuff.
Well, there's a team that disappointed me. My sentimental favorite. I go back to Landry back in the day. And the running back.
For the Cowboys, Tony Dorsett?
No. Running back for Detroit.
Barry Sanders?
Sanders.
Oh, he was fun to watch.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was top 3 ever.
Really good.
Could have been number 1.
So shifty.
Or number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have been among the greatest.
I think the injuries caught up with the Lions. I mean, they had a ton of injuries.
Oh, they
throughout
got
the
killed.
course of the season.
Their whole offensive line, they were missing 5 starters
Yeah.
on offense.
Lost
I
Hutchinson.
mean defense.
Yeah,
They were missing
Hutchinson.
5 starters.
Yeah, I mean, so I think injuries just caught up with them. But
I picked them preseason.
yep,
I don't gamble a lot, but me and Joe Rocco did this thing for preseason. We pick a team, and he says, "You're picking Detroit?" I go, "Oh, Detroit's the team. Detroit's the team to beat." And I looked good all the way through the season. Despite of the injuries, they were still winning, and they were still on top, right?
Yeah.
At one point, they had only lost 1 game.
I was rooting for a Detroit-Buffalo Super Bowl. That's what I wanted to see.
Nice, that would have been great.
Yeah.
That would not good for ratings, but that would have been great. Detroit, Buffalo.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
bet you would have been all right for ratings. I mean, you know.
come on,
You're
you
not
don't
gonna
have
have
the
the
big, you don't
Swifties.
have the big cities there.
Yeah. I still think, though, I mean, they were fun teams to watch, though.
Oh, absolutely.
And 2 like snake-bitten franchises that have never won Super Bowls, so like everybody's going to be tuning in to say who's going to finally win their first Super Bowl.
That would have been great to have
You
both
know?
of those teams in it.
But Dan Campbell, the Lions coach, like, how can't you want to play for a guy like that? Like,
Right,
that's
right.
a guy that wears his emotions on his sleeve. So I work at Brown.
Too crazy though. I mean,
You know what?
sometimes he takes
goes
too
for it a
many
lot.
chances.
He does.
Too many
He does take a lot of chances. He goes for it on 4th down more than any coach.
Right.
Okay, I'll give you that. But
4th down and 7. Come on,
the
give me a
guy's
break.
genuine. Like, so I have a friend that I work with, whose best friend was an NFL player that played for 7 different teams.
Right.
And he told him, he said, let me tell you something. He said, the 2 coaches that I played for that I absolutely loved, and he said, I can see why any player would want to play for those guys, are Dan Campbell and Mike Tomlin. He said, the other 5 coaches I played for, he said, I
Mike
just felt,
Tomlin, that's Pittsburgh, right?
yeah, he said, I just felt like it was transactional. You know, every other team I was with, it was like transactional. He said, those 2 guys I knew genuinely cared about me as a person, not just as a player, as a person. And so, I mean, and that kind of comes through. When you hear Dan Campbell speak, you could tell he cares about the guys.
Oh, there's no doubt about he loves his players. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I just didn't like some of the times it's nice to go 4th down. Even a lot of times, but he went way too many times.
Oh, no doubt.
He was too predictable. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Some people do it, but now they're all doing it. 4th down is like the 3rd down nowadays.
Well, this is now the whole analytics. To me, analytics, I think, to a certain extent, are kind of ruining sports.
Oh,
well, the
absolutely.
analytics say you go for it here. The analytics say you don't go for it here. How about going with what your eyes tell you or
and
what your
head.
gut tells you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Forget about the analytics. Analytics can be used as a guide, but like too many coaches now just go by the analytics and they don't go by
They're
what
not
they
coaching.
see. Like,
They're
how's
not
the
coaching.
game being played? Or
Yeah.
what does my gut tell me we should do in this situation? They don't do that anymore.
So they're not they're not coaching as much.
No,
They're
it's-
going
it's
by the analytics. They're not
analytics.
making the decision.
Yeah,
the
they get
analytics is making the decision.
They
for
got these
them.
number crunchers behind the scene that say, no, when it's 4th and 6 from this yard line, you go for it. You know, it's crazy.
Let's talk about money and sports. We'll start with football. It's crazy the money these guys get. Look at the quarterback for Dallas got that big contract.
Dak Prescott.
And
yeah.
right down. It
But
happens so often.
But the money's in the sport. Like, you look at the TV contracts that these sports, particularly the NFL, sign, right? I mean, the money that networks, and now you've got the streaming services. You've got
Which
Amazon
I hate.
Prime.
Which I hate
You've got
because
Netflix.
if you don't have Netflix, you'll miss games. And even though I have Prime,
Yep.
they've had Thursday night games on Prime.
Yep.
And I see Detroit. I missed a couple games on Prime because I didn't
Yeah.
even know they were on Thursday night Prime.
What do they do them now? They do them on Amazon Prime, they do them on Netflix and Peacock, right? Those are the 3
Right,
streaming
right.
services. And I think that's the wave of the future. But the point is, there's so much money coming in with those TV contracts. That's why the salaries are going up. I mean, they've got the money, and they have to, you know, the agreement they have with the Players Association is they have to spend a certain percentage of their income on player salaries, and that's why the salaries go up and up and up.
It's so. I was on a plane. This reminds me of years ago. I was in Russia, and I'm on a plane, and I'm sitting inside of this young woman, and we got to talking, and she goes, out of the clear blue, she goes, "You Americans are too obsessed with sports." She says, "You glorify the players in sports, whether it be it baseball, football, basketball, whatever, whereas we glorify advances in science and advances in medicine. Those guys make the big money. Those guys are our heroes, and it's so damn true. The average football player today makes at least $1 million a game.
All right. Would you rather live in Moscow or Providence? I think she could say all she wants about how we glorify sports too much. I'll take the United States, thank you very much. You could live in Russia, Bob.
All right, what does Mahomes make a year?
I don't know, probably
50 million?
Yeah, probably somewhere in the 40, 50 million
50
range.
million.
Yeah.
17 games, right?
Yeah.
That's $3 million a game.
I know. Look at these NBA contracts too.
Oh, another nut. Another crazy thing.
You look at what like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are making. It's like, you talk about 60
I don't like
million
Jason Tatum
a year. Why don't you like Jason
I
Tatum?
don't like. He's too inconsistent.
Well,
Jaylen Brown's a better player.
You know what Tatum doesn't have, and this is what bothers New England sports fans like us. He doesn't have that
The grit.
fire. Yeah,
That's right.
that fire
Doesn't
in his
have-
belly. You know what I mean?
And he does the stupidest thing all the time. He'll drive between two players, two defensive players.
Yep.
To draw the foul, I guess, or what?
No,
he just
no,
doesn't.
he's very talented, but New Englanders, we love guys that wear emotions on their sleeve.
Right.
And he's not one of
Play
those
hard.
guys.
Yeah, like
he-
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah,
Jaylen Brown's
that's right.
much more attuned to New England
Yeah.
than Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll see him, he'll shoot 8 shots before he get a three-pointer.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the game, scored 30 points because he shot 33 pointers.
Be curious to see how they do this year. In the playoffs, I'm one of those guys all season long when they weren't playing well. I'm like, well, they'll be able to flip the switch come playoff time. They'll dig in defensively. They'll be fine. But, Bob, they went 2.5 months playing 500 basketball. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should stop being concerned about them. But you know what made me a little bit more confident in their chances come playoff time? That win at Cleveland the other night. They went to Cleveland. They beat the Cavaliers out in Cleveland. And they had their healthy starting 5 all together on the court.
Right.
And they defended in that game. I said, okay, that's a game that makes me feel better about their chances to go deep in the playoffs once again.
Right.
Yeah. They do live and die by the 3, though. I think they take too many threes.
Too much now. They've changed. The swing is too far. It went way too far to the three-pointer.
Yep.
And you can blame the Golden States for that.
Well, you can blame the analytics.
Yeah.
They say the team that attempts, not makes, the team that attempts the most threes per game wins an NBA game like 90-some-odd% of the time.
Cut it out.
So that's why they're just people chucking threes.
It's that high?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. There's too many times when I see Tatum and I'm like, why take a contested 3 when you can go right by the guy to the hoop and dunk it or hit a layup?
But that's only 2 points.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How about that trade, Dallas?
Wow.
Was that a blockbuster?
I mean, I think the Lakers won the trade because, look, how much longer is LeBron going to be around?
Right.
1 year, 2 years, 3 years,
Right.
okay?
Oh,
The
I
bottom
thought he
line
was
is-
only around for his kid, to play with his kid one time.
Yeah, I mean, but you've got Luka Doncic who's 25 years old. So when LeBron finally hangs
but-
it up, you've got your star to build around.
Hey, wait a minute. He's 25,
Yeah.
but he's not a healthy guy. He smokes. He drinks. He reminds me.
And
He's
eats.
the Babe Ruth of,
Yeah.
of basketball.
But he produces.
He produces, but I mean, it's got to take its toll on him as time goes on. Especially the smoking.
Yeah, you're
running up and down the court.
You're probably right. But I'd rather take a 25-year-old Luka Doncic as my centerpiece to build around
Oh,
than
absolutely.
a 31 or 32-year-old Anthony Davis,
Right. So who'd they give up for them? You give up, what, 4 players for them?
For who? Doncic?
Yeah.
Well, Davis was the big man was the key, in the trade. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah. So I think the Lakers won the deal.
Oh, I do too.
in my opinion. Yeah.
I do too. I just don't have a friend that's really big into basketball. I like college basketball more than professional basketball.
I think the interesting one's going to be, you heard about the latest trade, was Jimmy Butler going from the Heat to Golden State. So now Jimmy Butler is teamed up with Steph Curry and Draymond Green.
Wow, they'll
Now,
be really
granted,
showing 3-pointers.
Those are all aging stars, but that's an interesting trio you got there.
Well, they'll all be, like I said, they'll all be shooting
Yeah.
from the perimeter. They'll all be shooting 35-footers,
Yep.
right?
Yep. This has been a crazy trade deadline in the NBA. Like, I've never seen more stars get moved
Right.
at the NBA trade deadline than what we've had this year.
Well, see, that's what I miss back in my day when you had players, be it baseball, football, basketball, they stayed with a team, and you could get connected to the player
Yep.
because they were with that team. Like, I'm a big Baltimore Oriole fan, always have been.
Yep.
People say, you're from Rhode Island, how come you're a Baltimore Oriole fan? But Pawtucket Red Sox were there. I said, I like the Red Sox, but I hated Kyle Yastrzemski.
Okay.
And I liked Baltimore. I coached baseball for 21 years. My gig in baseball, and I was very successful coaching baseball. And my thing was pitching and defense. That's the game to me.
Yeah.
And the Baltimore Orioles are the only team ever to have 4 20-game winners twice.
Well, Earl Weaver would also tell you the 3-run home run's a big
Oh,
part.
I know he used to say that. He used to say that. He used to say that. But there was a time.
Yeah.
There was a time. Like I said, 4 20-game winners. They did it twice.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Do you know the players? Do you know the quarterback
So
pitchers?
I had to be Palmer as one of them.
Yep.
Trying to think who else they had on the staff. Well, not at the same time. Like Musina wasn't on the Musina came later.
Messina was later.
Yeah. No, who were the pitchers on the staff besides Jim Palmer?
Twice they did it. They did it the first time with Palmer, Cuellar, McNally, and Phoebus.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. The first time it wasn't Phoebus, it was Dalton. And then the second time it was the same 3 with Phoebus.
Okay.
But to do that, they did it like 70 and 79.
Yeah,
I think,
that's unheard of.
That's unprecedented.
Yeah.
And back in my day, pitchers pitched the game.
Yeah.
Now it's like 5 innings, 6 innings, and they're done.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, a game's 9 innings.
Yeah.
You're the winner of the game because you pitched 6 of them.
Yeah.
That's only 2/3 of a game.
Well, again, but there weren't those strict pitch counts back then like there are now.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
You know,
100 pitches, they're done.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they throw 200.
That's right.
250.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, you can talk about
Yeah.
all those 4 players, and you can talk about Tom Seaver, you can talk about Gaylord Perry and Ferguson Jenkins and all those guys. They pitched the whole game.
Oh, yeah.
And if a reliever come in,
Yeah.
it was the bottom of the 9th with 1 out or 2 outs that they bring a reliever in.
Yeah. Now, speaking of baseball, and you mentioned Netflix earlier, so do you not have Netflix?
I do now.
But you do. Did you watch the Red Sox documentary Comeback on the 2004
No, I
Red
just
Sox?
got Netflix.
Oh, you've got to watch it.
Really?
You've got to watch it. It's about, the 2004 season when they came back from 3 down against the
Right.
Yankees. But it's only 3 episodes, each an hour long, but it starts with the 03 season and Grady Little and Pedro Martinez and, the hiring of Theo Epstein. They tried to get Billy Beane, but Billy Beane backed out of the job. It's tremendous.
Billy Beane went to what, Oakland?
He was with Oakland, yeah. And he was doing a great job with Oakland. And John Henry, when he bought the team, that was his first move. He said, I've got to hire this guy, Billy Beane. He said, there's no better GM in baseball. Beane accepted the job as
But
GM
he
of the Red
backed out,
Sox.
didn't he?
He backed out because he said, I have like a 15-year-old daughter, and I'm going to spend, 9 months out of the year,
Right.
3,000 miles away,
Going
and I
back and
realize
forth,
I can't
cross
do
country.
it. So he called John Henry. He says, I can't take the job. He says, but you ought to hire this guy, Theo. He said, he's the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
And so they ended up taking a shot on Theo Epstein as the GM. But it's great to get the players' perspective. Like you've got, there's interviews with guys like Pedro Martinez and Kurt Schilling and David Ortiz
Right.
and Kevin Millar. And then on the Yankee side, you had Joe Torre doing interviews, Gary Sheffield. You had different guys. It's really, really good. Come back on Netflix. You got to watch it.
Really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know you're an Oils fan, but you'll really enjoy it. It's good.
Good. I interviewed when he was going through the streak, running the streak, the Iron Man streak.
Cal Ripken Jr.?
Cal Ripken Jr.
Yeah.
I interviewed him in
Did you really?
Baltimore. I did, yeah. And I also interviewed, I was leaning on that. They allowed me, I got more freedom in Baltimore than I ever got in Fenway Park. I was leaning on the batting cage when the Red Sox, I was there for a Red Sox game.
Yeah.
Red Sox, I'm leaning against the batting cage, and the Orioles were up to bat, their time batting cage, and that was the year that Dwight Evans went to the Orioles.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I was interviewing him.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's another thing they don't have anymore in baseball. Nobody's got an arm.
Oh, Dewey was...
Back, right?
Dewey had a cannon
right?
in right field.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I can name
Yeah.
10 guys that had great arms
Yeah.
back in the day, right?
Yeah.
None of these guys got it. They can't throw to the plate. They can't even hit the cutoff, man,
Yeah.
let alone make it to the plate. How about Dave Parker? Dave Parker in the All-Star game threw
Yeah.
a ball from the wall or the warning track to home plate on a line and threw somebody out.
That was one of my favorite baseball teams, the 1979 We Are Family Pittsburgh
Oh,
Pirates.
it pissed me off because they
Parker
beat my
and
team.
Stargell. They beat the Orioles,
They
that's
beat
right.
my team. Are you kidding?
Have you ever seen those videos of Earl Weaver arguing with the umpires and dropping
Oh,
all the
God,
swears? And
I also talked with Earl Weaver too, and he showed me his garden. He had a garden in center field in the old Memorial Stadium.
Yeah.
I used to like Memorial Stadium.
So let me ask you this: you interviewed Cal Ripken Jr. So my impression, I've never interviewed him myself. From that one interview, did you get a sense of his character? Because he always seemed like a real classy player.
Nice
classy
guy,
to me.
real
Good guy? Yeah,
nice,
so-
down-to-earth guy.
That's good to hear.
Not a big guy, tall guy
Yeah.
too. He changed the whole concept of shortstops because back in the day, Ozzie Smith was a 5'8". He'd come out and he'd do flips and tricks and at shortstop. They were all shortstops were short guys.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, Rick Burleson for the Red
Right.
Sox. Yeah, the Rooster.
Then he came along. He's 6'4". He came up as a third baseman, by the way.
Yep.
Just as the same thing that Kyle Yastrzemski came up as a shortstop.
A left-handed shortstop?
No, wait a minute. Kyle Yastrzemski came up as yes. Kyle Yastrzemski's not left-handed.
Yeah, isn't he left-handed?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I believe he came up as a shortstop.
Does he only bat left? Did he throw right?
He bats left. Look, let's find out. Right on TV. We'll find out right now. Hey, series. Is Kyle Yastrzemski left-handed or right-handed thrower? Series isn't listening to me. Oh, wait, I probably should put my phone on. Yeah, I think he's right-handed.
He definitely batted lefty, I can tell you that.
Hey, series, Kyle Yastrzemski, the baseball player, is he a left-handed or right-handed thrower?
Here's what I found.
Started his career at wait a minute. Playing as a left fielder, but played 33 games at third base.
Is that right?
Yep. He's mainly a third baseman, doesn't get it. He was a right-hander.
Wow.
He threw right-handed.
Okay, so he batted lefty, he threw righty. Okay.
Yep. And I didn't like the guy because I thought he caused them. Billy Canigliaro left.
Yep.
Carlton Fisk left because of him. Do you remember the turmoil back in the 60s, 70s?
Yep.
And I put that on him.
Yeah.
Because it was his way or the highway.
Yeah.
And they lost a lot of players because of him.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really young when Yaz was kind of in his prime and toward the end of his career. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like to me, I grew up more with, it was Lyndon Rice, and then, it was Wade Boggs when I was a teenager. He was a great hitter. And
I got a good story about Wade Boggs. Do you know Wade Boggs hit better in the majors than he did in the minors?
is that right?
He had a higher batting average in Fenway than he did at McCoy Stadium. How's that one?
And only had chicken before every game.
Every game.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
was
he's
at the
superstitious.
stadium, brought my whole team to the stadium to watch a game one night, and kids are sitting, playing around too much, so I get out of the stands and I sit on the stairs. I'm sitting on the stairs. This guy comes over to me, sits right next to me. It was Wade Boggs. He just got called up to Boston.
Yeah.
And he's going, "The kids too much for you?" I go, "Yeah, they're a pain in the butt."
Yeah.
And we started just chatting about it. And
Yeah.
that's when I even mentioned to him about, "You're hitting better up in the majors than I do." He goes, "The wall. It's the wall."
Yeah.
Because he used to slap the ball off the wall.
Yep.
A lot of players, left-handed batters, which was ironic because you would think it would help right-handed batters more.
Right.
But a lot of left-handed batters, and a perfect example was Freddie Lynn.
Yeah.
Freddie Lynn was a .330 batter in Fenway Park.
Yeah.
When he went to California, he just about hit .270 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or it's probably even less than that.
Yeah. Boggs, to me, though, Wade Boggs and Tony Gwynn were probably the two best hitters that I ever saw.
Oh, my God.
In terms of getting the bat on the baseball.
Absolutely. Wait a minute, how about Rod Carew?
Carew's pretty good, but I still would put Gwynn and Boggs in terms of
Well, I think you're
pure
right,
hitters.
though. I think you're right. Tony Gwynn didn't get it because he played for San Diego, but he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn, he won, 7 or 8 batting titles.
Oh, yeah.
He was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
But he just played for the wrong team.
Yeah.
If he played for a high visible team like LA or Boston or New York or
Right.
something, he would have got his due.
Right.
And he died. Did he die young?
He died, yeah.
He died
passed
young.
away, yep. Yep.
I went to a Baseball Hall of Fame fantasy camp back, I don't know, 15 years ago. Frank Robinson, Gaylord Perry, Brooks Robinson, my heroes, right? Carl Yastrzemski was there too.
Oh, yeah?
I'm so bad. I had a bat signed by Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Gaylord Perry, Ferguson Jenkins, and a couple others, and I didn't have Carl Yastrzemski sign the bat. I didn't want him on my bat.
You really don't like
Oh,
Yaz?
I don't like him. I did business with him. I was working for Aetna at the time, and he at the time owned 2 car dealers in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I was brought in because I was the deferred compensation specialist for Aetna at the time.
Yep.
That was when it first came out. I
Yep.
signed the second deferred compensation program in the United States. First one
Really?
this side of the Mississippi, yeah.
Okay.
And they brought me in because he got a contract from Yorkie, $365,000 or $385,000, which was a lot of money at the time.
Yeah.
And he didn't need it, so he's trying to defer it.
Yep.
And how they defer it is, as long as you don't have constructive receipt of the money, that's the key term,
Yep.
the IRS term. As long as you don't have, if I'm paying you money
Yep.
and I don't hand it to you, or I don't put it in your bank account, or I don't give it so you have access to it, and I keep it, and as long as I'm a nonprofit entity, you're not taxed on it. And I'm not taxed on it because I'm a nonprofit entity.
Okay.
And I don't know about baseball, it must be, but I know, which shocks the hell out of me. Do you know the NFL is nonprofit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they print money.
What? How is that possible? How is that? Why are they nonprofit? That's crazy.
I know. They print money. They make it hand over fist.
I mean, that's so unbelievable that they are listed as a 501c3
Yeah.
corporation.
Yeah.
And they're one of the most profitable organizations in the world,
Yeah.
if not the most profitable organization
Yeah.
in the world. I mean, there's not a team worth less than $1 billion, right?
No. I'd love, so are you a Seinfeld fan at all?
Oh, yeah.
So hearing you say that you went to baseball fantasy camp reminds me of the episode when Kramer went to fantasy camp. He got back from fantasy camp and he told Jerry and George, and Jerry looked at him and says, "Fantasy camp? Your whole life is a fantasy." That's how I feel about you, Bob.
I interviewed Frank Robinson at that fantasy camp. Again, I told you, he was my favorite player, by the way, Frank Robinson. Do you know he was traded from Cincinnati to the Baltimore Orioles in 1965 for Milt Pappas, a pitcher.
Yeah.
And Pappas ended up being okay. Frank Robinson started with the Orioles in '66 and led them to beat the heavily favored Dodgers.
Yeah.
The year they had Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, I think it was Claude Osteen and Singer were the pitching staff. Heavily favored. Do you know that's the lowest scoring World Series ever?
Is that right? Well, yeah, great pitching with the Dodgers. And
No, but it was the other way.
yeah, or was it? Yeah.
It was the Orioles that shut them down.
And Robinson, well, what a great defensive glove he was.
They end up winning. Not only won, they won in 4 games. The Orioles won in 4 games.
Yeah.
And Palmer was only 20 years old.
You talk about good guys. We talked about Cal Ripken earlier. You mentioned Sandy Koufax. I had a chance to meet and interview him here in Rhode Island. He used to come here and play in the Brad Faxon and Billy Andrade Children's Charities event at Wannamoisa Country Club.
Wow.
Because he was friends with Billy Andrade.
Yep.
What a nice guy.
Yeah.
What a nice guy. Now, again, I'm too young to have remembered him as a pitcher in his prime.
He retired at 31.
But he was as good as it
Phenomenal.
gets, wasn't he?
He was a left-hander.
Yeah.
Phenomenal pitcher.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Had arm problems.
The best one in my lifetime, if I could take a guy in his prime, and his prime didn't last very long because he broke down, to me, Pedro Martinez at his best was as good as I've ever seen.
Yep.
Now, Roger Clemens did it for a lot longer.
Yep.
But I think Pedro at his best was more dominant than Clemens at his best.
Yep.
And that's saying something.
And
too.
you know what else I liked about Pedro Martinez? He would come inside on pitches. On batters, I mean.
Then you're going to like the documentary I just told you about.
Really?
Comeback. Yeah, because it shows when he came inside on 2 Yankee hitters, because one of them hit Kevin Millar, okay?
Right.
In a series.
Right.
So Millar comes back to the dugout, and Pedro says, "Who do you want?" And Millar said, "What do you mean?" He says,
Yeah.
who do you want me to hit?
Exactly.
And Millar's like, is this guy serious? And Pedro was
And he
like,
wasn't a big guy. Pedro Martinez was not a big guy.
so he told Pedro, he said, all right, Jeter. And so Pedro
most popular player on the Yankees.
Pedro pitched like 1 or 2 games later against the Yankees, and I think Soriano was up before Jeter, and he didn't like Soriano, Pedro. So he hits him,
Right.
gets him in the wrist. Then the next batter's Jeter. He hits him in the wrist,
Yep.
and Pedro says, I sent both of them to the hospital in the same ambulance. He said, you don't throw at my guys. That was Pedro, though.
But they've gotten away with that. They
Yeah.
don't do that anymore. They don't hit. They don't pitch inside
Yeah.
to people. It's a totally different game. Frank Robinson used to get hit a lot
Yeah.
because he hung up close to the plate. He stood close to the
Oh,
plate.
yeah. Well, Clemens talked about facing those Red Sox in 04 with Manny and Ortiz, and his line was, he says, those guys had campfires over home plate. He said
Right.
they just leaning over home plate like this. And Clemens was just like Pedro.
Right.
He'd Clemens owns the inside portion of
Right,
that play,
right.
like a Bob Gibson did for the Cardinals.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Bob Gibson, 1968
Yep.
World Series, and I picked that. That was I bet on that series, and Detroit was down 3-1.
Gambling wasn't legal back then on sports.
Hey, 3-1. They were down 3 games to 1. Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Were down to,
Tigers, yeah.
Tigers,
Yep.
I mean Lions.
Yep.
Detroit Tigers were down 3 games to 1. You know who the star of that World Series was?
Who?
Well, you know who won 31 games, 31-6 that year was Denny McClain.
Denny McClain, yep.
But he had a high ERA.
Yep.
He won games 8-4, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mickey Lolich was the star, left-hander. He was
Yeah.
the star of that World Series. Denny McClain pitched the first game, got beat by Gibson, who, by the way, that year had an ERA of less than 2.
Yeah.
I mean, he was absolutely lights out. Gibson wins that game. Second game, Lolich pitches, Lolich wins. Fourth game, Lolich, Denny McClain faces, Denny McClain gets beat again. They pitch Lolich in the 5th game. He wins, and they pitch Lolich in the 7th game, which should have been Denny McClain's.
Yeah.
And he beats Gibson.
Wow.
In the 7th game of that
Wow.
series. Yeah. That was a great series. We're wrapping up. We did a whole hour.
I know.
That was so easy.
That was
we could
easy,
do another hour. But we're talking. We didn't even get to hockey.
So you got your Eagles shirt on, your green Eagles shirt. You say Eagles, I say Chiefs.
All right.
All right?
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I like Kansas City, but I got to give the shot to somebody else. I want to see somebody else win it.
Plus, Kansas City. Isn't that a great song? Wilbur Harrison. Going to Kansas City.
Kansas City, here I come.
There you go.
Well, thank you again.
My pleasure,
Scott
Bob.
Cordischi,
Thank
folks. Now, when are you on?
Saturday morning, 7 to 9 on 103.7 WEEI. And
right.
you can catch me on ESPN Plus, broadcasting Brown University, football and basketball.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, great seeing you again.
You too. Thanks for having me.
See you after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
All right. And folks, see you after the Super Bowl. And thank you for spending an hour with Bob and Scott. Until next time, see you.